Welcome to Man in Progress, Forging Manhood. I'm Travis Murray, values coach and your guide to building a life driven by real values. Each week we explore what it means to be a man today, talk about and to thinkers and doers who've been through it, and give you steps to show up better for yourself and those you love. If you're ready to forge your own path, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. Every man wants to be the mountain in the storm, the one that doesn't bend, doesn't flinch, doesn't break. But most confuse stubbornness for strength. They lock their jaw, they go silent, they keep moving as if nothing's wrong, while inside, the cracks widen. That's not strength, that's brittleness. And brittle things shatter when the pressure comes. Last week, I asked you to step into the fire most men never face, to give yourself compassion. Not the soft, easy kind, the kind that stares into the mirror after you've failed, admits the truth without sugar, and says, yes, you fell short. Now, let's build something worth keeping. That was the first strike on the anvil. You softened the steel of your spirit so it could be worked. Why does that matter? Because when you live at war with yourself, your body knows it. Nerves fire faster. Blood pressure climbs. Stress floods your system. But when you begin to align your actions with your values, one choice at a time, your body shifts. Breathing deepens. Heart rate steadies. Your mind clears. You start building a foundation that can hold weight. Today, the forge is hotter, the hammer is heavier, and this isn't about writing 10 values on a list to pin on your fridge. This is about one value, your first steel. The one you will temper until it becomes the spine of who you are. Before this episode ends, you'll name it, fold it, and begin shaping it. And when you walk away, you'll be holding the beginnings of a blade that will carry you through storms. Now step into the forge. It's time to work. A blacksmith doesn't start with a sword. He starts with raw steel, plain, unshaped, and without a story. Before the fire ever touches it, before the hammer ever strikes, he decides what it's going to be. A chisel isn't forged like a battle blade. A kitchen knife isn't forged like a spear. The steel's destiny determines the heat it faces, the blows it takes, and the hands that will one day depend on it. That's your life. Your steel is your value. And before you start hammering away with routines, goals, and all the noise the world sells you as self-improvement, you have to decide what the first piece will be. Not 10 values, not a noble-sounding list of shoulds. One value, tempered deep, will carry you farther than a dozen you barely live out. This isn't an opinion. It's proven. People who act in alignment with a clearly defined core value under pressure show measurable drops in stress. Their heart rate slows, their breathing steadies, clarity comes back online. It's like handing your nervous system a compass when the fog closes in. There's a man in history I want us to look at, Sir Ernest Shackleton. In the early 1900s, he led an Antarctic expedition that became a nightmare of ice, starvation, and darkness. He could have chosen ambition, chasing the glory of being the first to the South Pole. Instead, he chose loyalty to his men above his mission. That one decision became the spine of every choice he made, from turning back before the pole to risking his own life to bring every crew member home. Not a single man was lost. That's what one unshakable value can do. It can hold you steady when the weight of the world tries to break you. But there's a flip side. If Shackleton had chosen ambition over loyalty, history might still remember his name, but his men would be remembered as frozen corpses under Antarctic ice. So I ask this question: what's your steel? Maybe it's truth, the kind that costs you friendships. Maybe it's courage, the kind that moves before you feel ready. Maybe it's responsibility, the kind that makes excuses impossible. You need to choose it with the seriousness of a blacksmith selecting metal for a blade that might one day save a life, because the life it saves could be your own. This isn't a choice to rush. Your steel is the foundation of the man you're forging. If you pick something easy, something you already live without struggle, you're not forging. You're polishing what's already there. But if you choose something that exposes your weaknesses, something that forces you to change, you're putting real metal in the fire. Write it down. Say it out loud. Let it feel awkward in your mouth, because that awkwardness will fade with repetition. Keep it where you can see it, on your desk, in your wallet, on the lock screen of your phone. You're not just naming an ideal, you're committing to a weapon. And before you leave this stage of the forge, I need to ask you one question, and one question you should ask yourself. If this was the only value that you were known for when your story is done, would you be proud? If the answer is yes, then you've chosen your first steel. Now we heat it. Now we fold it. Now we turn it into something that can take a blow without breaking. You've chosen your steel, but right now it's raw, beautiful in potential, dangerous in reality. It looks solid, it feels solid, but hidden deep inside are flaws, pockets of weakness, tiny fractures that won't show themselves until the first real hit. Shape it now, and the first hard strike could split it in two. That's why a blacksmith folds the steel. He heats it until it glows, hammers it flat, then folds it over itself again and again, sometimes hundreds of times. Each fold drives out slag and weakness. Each fold stacks strength on strength until what began as separate pieces becomes one unified whole. This is the part most men skip. They want the shine without the repetition, the title without the training, the respect without the discipline. But folding here is where your value stops being an idea and starts becoming part of your bloodstream. If your value is courage, folding doesn't happen in some cinematic battle. It happens in the quiet moments you think no one will notice, when you speak the truth instead of smoothing it over, when you walk into the room you'd rather avoid, when you choose the harder road simply because it's the right one. Science has a name for this: value-congruent action. Every time you act in alignment with your chosen value, your brain changes. Pathways strengthen. Choices become instinct instead of effort. At first, it feels like a fight with yourself. Over time, it feels like breathing. Miyamoto Masashi, the undefeated Japanese swordsman, understood this. 60 duels, 60 victories. Not because he was born a genius, but because he trained in solitude. Thousands of strikes, the same motion repeated until sword, body, and mind were indistinguishable. His victories were forged long before the duels, one fold at a time. And here's the hard truth: folding feels like nothing's happening. No one's clapping. No one's watching. There's no applause in the forge, just heat, repetition, and the relentless sound of your own hammer. But every fold now is one less fracture later. Life will test the steel. It won't test it once. It'll test it every time the pressure rises, every time the heat comes back. You'll be tempted to quit here, to think, I've done enough. I get it now. That's the voice of weakness, begging to be left in the steel. Ignore it. Keep folding again and again and again. Because the day will come when you don't have time to prepare, when the blow comes out of nowhere, and in the moment, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall to the level of your folding. So fold your courage, fold your truth, fold your loyalty, not until it's something you believe in, until it's something you are. The folding is done. The steel is strong. You've hammered out the weaknesses and stacked layer upon layer of strength. But here's the truth. Steel that never leaves the bench is just metal with potential. A blacksmith knows there comes a moment when preparation has to give way to action. He pulls the glowing steel from the fire, sets it on the anvil, and raises the hammer high. This is the point of no return. Strike too soon and you waste the heat. Wait too long and the steel cools, losing its ability to be shaped. Most men who have made it this far freeze. They've done the work in theory, read the books, talked about the values, folded them in quiet moments, but when it's time to swing the hammer, they hesitate. Psychologists call it the intention-action gap. You know what to do. You believe it's the right thing, but belief without action is a blade without an edge. Striking is about embodiment. It's the moment your value stops being an internal conviction and becomes an external reality. If your value is integrity, striking is telling the truth when a lie would protect you. If your value is courage, striking is stepping forward when every part of you screams to step back. If your value is loyalty, striking is showing up when no one else does. History gives us Harriet Tubman. She didn't just believe in freedom, she acted on it again and again. Every time she crossed enemy lines to guide slaves to safety, she risked capture, torture, and death. That wasn't theory. That was the hammer falling, each rescue shaping her legacy like a blade meeting the anvil. She didn't wait for perfect conditions. She moved when it was dangerous, when it was costly, when the steel was ready and the moment demanded the strike. Striking won't feel perfect. Some hits will miss. Some angles will be off. Some days, the hammer will feel too heavy to lift. But imperfection isn't failure. It's proof you're in the forge. Every strike leaves its mark, shaping the blade into something unique, something only you could create. And the danger isn't in making a bad strike. It's in making no strike at all. Hesitation cools the steel. Inaction dulls the edge. Every time you pause when you know you should act, the heat you worked so hard to build bleeds away, and the shape you fought for begins to fade. So act today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Ready is a myth. The forge doesn't wait. The fire doesn't stay hot forever. If your value is truth, speak it today. If it's courage, do the thing you've been avoiding today. If it's loyalty, stand beside someone who needs you today. The folding has given you strength. The fire has given you heat. This moment, the striking, is where all of it becomes something real. Because no blade ever shaped itself. The strikes have been made. The blade is taking shape. You can see the spine, the curve, the suggestion of an edge. But the blacksmith knows this is the most dangerous moment in the forge. Why? Because the steel looks finished. It catches the light just right. It feels balanced in the hand. You could stop here and convince yourself it's ready. But the truth? If you rush the next step, everything you've done can still shatter in the trial to come. Now, most men who have made it this far, they make their biggest mistake. They confuse this early progress with mastery. They think, I've acted on my value today. I've acted a few times. I've proven I can do it. But a few good strikes, they don't make a blade. And a few good days don't make a man. Before the quench, the blacksmith inspects every strike, every line, every surface. He searches for flaws, because once the steel hits the cold, those flaws will become fractures. There is no fixing them after that. This is your pause before the storm. Not a stall, not hesitation, discipline. Ask yourself, have I truly lived this value in the moments it mattered most? If my value is courage, have I stepped into the places that scared me when no one was watching? If it's truth, have I spoken it even when silence would have been safer? If it's loyalty, have I stayed when it would have been easier to walk away? Here's the gut punch. Life isn't impressed with your potential. It doesn't care about the days you are almost the man you want to be. When the trial comes, it will only measure the steel that's truly there. The samurai swordsmiths of Japan understood this. Their work wasn't just folding and striking. It was study. They ran their eyes and hands over every inch of the blade, feeling for uneven and even the smallest imperfection. Only when they were certain that the steel could face the shock of the quench without breaking would they move forward. That's where you are now. No excuses, no blind spots, no telling yourself that good enough will hold under pressure. Because the quench, the moment that tests you, will come without warning. And when it does, you will not have time to prepare. A lot of men rush here because they want to prove themselves. They want to show the world the blade they've been working on. But the wise men understand. If the edge isn't truly ready, the first real cut will be the last. So slow down. Inspect yourself without mercy. Fix what needs fixing. Sharpen what's dull. And smooth out what's jagged. Because once the trial begins, there's no going back. This is it, the last stretch in the forge. You've chosen your steel. You've folded it until the weak spots bled out. You've struck it into shape, layer by layer. You've inspected it under the harshest light you could stand. Now comes the quiet before the fire meets the cold. The blacksmith doesn't waste this moment. He doesn't rush to dunk the blade into the quench just to see if it will survive. He lives with it for a while. He turns it in his hands, feeling the balance, noting the weight, listening to the ring it gives when tapped. Every sense is engaged, because once the steel hits the quench, its fate is sealed. That's where you are. This week isn't about proving yourself. It's about living your value so deeply that it feels welded to your bones, not as a theory, not as a story you tell yourself, as a reflex. If your value is truth, speak it in a conversation where the lie would be easier. If your value is courage, take one step toward the thing you've been avoiding for years. If your value is loyalty, stand beside someone when it costs you time, money, or comfort. And here's the part no one talks about. The closer you get to the quench, the louder the doubts become. You'll start to hear the whispers. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe my steel isn't good enough. Maybe I should start over. Ignore them Doubt is the final impurity, trying to slip into the blade before the test. History's greatest forges, whether in a blacksmith's workshop or in the soul of a man, have one thing in common. They commit. When the time comes, they do not hesitate. They trust the work they've done, the layers they've built, the discipline they've shown. So live this week like you'll never get another one before the test. Use the value you've chosen in your work, your family, your quiet moments alone. Make it so real that when you hold it up to the light, there's no doubt. This is who I am now. Because the quench is coming, whether you want it to or not. It won't wait for a better season. It won't care if you're almost there. And when it hits, you won't have time to think. You'll either hold your edge or you'll snap. The wise man uses every breath before that moment to sharpen himself. Stay in the forge. Stay ready. Stay steady. Because the next time we meet, we face the cold, and there's no going back. You've got 7 days. 7 days before the cold hits. 7 days before life stops asking politely and starts testing whether you got what it takes to hold an edge. This week is simple, but it won't be easy. In order to fold your metal, in order to hammer your blade, you're going to need to live your value on purpose every day. Not when it's convenient, not when you feel like it, not just in your head, where it's safe. In the real world, where people push back, where situations pull at you, where excuses are thick and easy to reach for. Here's how you do it. Step 1, write your value down again. 1 word, maybe 2, if they belong together. Big enough that you can see it from across the room. Put it on your desk, on your bathroom mirror, on the dash of your car, anywhere it will keep you from forgetting. Step 2, decide every morning. 1 way you'll live it today. Just 1. If your value is truth, maybe it's telling your boss something they need to hear but don't want to. If it's courage, maybe it's making that phone call you've been dodging for months. If it's loyalty, maybe it's showing up for someone you've been too busy for. Step 3, at the end of the day, reflect. Not in vague, I think I did all right. Write it down. How did you live your value? How did it feel in the moment? Did it cost you something? Did it give you something? Was there a moment you could have acted on it but didn't? This isn't about perfection. This is about proof. You're building a record of action so that when the quench comes, you can point to the past week and say, I've already been living it. I know this steel will hold. And here's something you might not expect. Living your value every day will draw friction. It will invite resistance. Maybe not from strangers, but from the people and patterns that are most comfortable. You will know them because you've been living them. They will push back. They will question, mock. That's not failure. That's the forge still working. When that happens, remember, you're not building this steel for them. You're building it for the storms ahead, the nights when no one's watching, the battles where there's no applause, the moments where the only thing keeping you from breaking is the work you've done in here. So carry it with you this week like a weapon you can't afford to drop. Live it until it feels less like something you're doing and more like something you can't stop doing. Because when you step into the cold, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall to the level of the steel you've built. And you've only got a few days left to make it unbreakable. Because the quench is coming. Thanks for watching the third episode of Man in Progress, Forging Manhood. If you haven't yet, go watch the other 2 episodes. I'll see you in the forge.